Let's start with what is going to be the content or the structure of today's webinar. I would like to do a quick introduction to the ecoinvent Association and the ecoinvent database in the beginning as an introduction to newcomers or first comers to this series of webinars. And then I would like to dive into the additions and updates we have made for the version 3.9. So first, very quickly, the ecoinvent Association. We are a not-for-profit association. Our mission is to promote the availability of high-quality data for sustainability assessments worldwide. We are located in Switzerland. We were founded by 5 Swiss research institutes that you can see here: ETH, EPFL, PSI, EMPA, and Agroscope. We are today a team of 36 people. Most of us experts or dedicated to LCA and LCI. We also have a software developers team and a commercial and a communications teams. Probably you know us best as the publishers of the ecoinvent database. So we are in charge of maintaining, enriching, and then releasing, publishing, and commercializing the ecoinvent database. But we are also service and knowledge providers. We also participate in other kind of initiatives. Typically, we will engage in all kind of projects that would be covering the topics of interoperability, data creation, database creation, handling, analysis, distribution, and also on capacity building and awareness raising around those topics. So as some examples of that, we work hard with others for interoperability, pushing for interoperability. We are members of the GLAD network. We were the coordinators of the GLAD EF mapping project that aimed at mapping different elementary exchanges lists from different databases together. We participate in different research and development projects, which each of those on their side try to, again, push for interoperability or for new aspects on life cycle assessment. We are members of the different advisory bodies of the PEF initiative from the European Commission. So we sit in the technical advisory board, but also in the different working groups. And we also have been in the advisory board of different LCA databases. We were the coordinators of the National LCA Database Roadmap Project with UNEP, and we were and still are data providers for the PEF initiative in the pilot and in the transition phase. In the pilot phase, covering chemical supply, in the transition phase, updating that chemical supply, and then as coordinators of a larger consortium that is serving data on chemicals and plastics, agro-food, renewables, textiles, etc., to the PEF data. The ecoinvent database, that is what have all of us here today together this morning, is a global library of human activities. It includes thousands of processes covering the value chain of several products across all industrial sectors. It's updated yearly. It is trusted by more than 8,000 licenses that represents tens of thousands of users in more than 80 countries, and of course is compliant with the ISO 14 series. The database today, if we refer to the version 3.9, the one that concerns us today, the one that's published in, or is going to be published now in 2022, it contains around 19,000 activities, around 4,000 products, and covers all regions in the world. And the database, as I was saying before, covers all kinds of human activities. So as you can see in this slide, from crop production to energy production, construction materials, transport, wood products, chemical production, the end of life processes, resource extraction, machinery, metal extraction, manufacturing, forming, etc. Today, we're going to talk, as I mentioned already, about the latest additions and updates that we are publishing in 2022 in the form of the version 3.9. You can have access to the ecoinvent database, of course, directly via our distribution platform, the ecoquery, but also through a number of applications from LCA software applications. That here we are naming just a few, the most well-known, SimaProbe, LCA, Sfera, Umberto, etc. You can also have access to the ecoinvent database through other business software applications that would have some LCA or sustainability features, such as MakerSite, SAP, Dassault System, some of the softwares developed by Dassault System, or ANSYS. So now to the details of the version 3.9 of the ecoinvent database. This version is going to be released soon in October 2022. It contains 1,100 new activities. It updates 1,900 activities, and it adds 271 new products to the database. The version 3.9 focus on several core sectors to the database, starting with oil and gas, wastewater, energy, cement and concrete, batteries and scarce metals, chemicals, and wood and paper, or rather paper and cardboard. The version 3.9 also updates several methods, or the implementation of several methods in the database, and also adds new methods or implements new methods in the database. And it completes the coverage of the product information. So now all products and services present in the database have a product information associated to it. As always, we will release, together with the version 3.9 of the database, a complete change report where you will be able to read in a PDF form, but also consult as an Excel all possible changes that have occurred between 3.8 and 3.9, so you keep track and map the changes for your as you need. Okay, let's start giving some details of the different updates, and I would like to start with what is probably the most central update of the version 3.9, and that relates to the extraction and supply of oil and gas. This update has been prepared together with ESU services using data that was commissioned by the Swiss Federal Office for the Environment and the Swiss Gas Industry Association. The update covers production, long-distance transport, so transmission, and the distribution of crude oil and natural gas. It covers 90% of global crude oil production and 80% of natural gas production. It represents onshore and offshore oil and gas production for 27 geographies, such as US, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, Iraq, China, Norway, etc. The update features new and updated country-specific supply of natural gas, covering 75% of global consumption, roughly. And the key aspect of the update, of course, is that it addresses the issue of the reported and underrepresentation of methane emissions that has been, the awareness of that has been raised more and more in the media, by the International Energy Agency, by the initiatives of the UN, etc. So how does it address this key topic? First, by modeling a gas flaring based on data from the Global Gas Flaring Reduction Partnership from the World Bank. Secondly, modeling vented and fugitive emissions of natural gas using data from Methane Tracker 2022 of the International Energy Agency. And thirdly, representing region-specific emission factors for sulfur dioxide, NOx, and for oil spills from industry reporting. In general, it has to be US users. You have to expect that the impacts of the updated activities, if we use indicators such as the global warming potential indicator, for example, the impacts are going to increase significantly with the update. The effect downstream supply chains, so for example in chemical production or in electricity production, is more moderate. I would invite you to join the dedicated webinar that we are preparing and scheduling. Please go to our calendar page, and I think it's still not announced there, but it's in the scheduled pipeline of webinars to come. So please join this dedicated webinar if this is something that is of your interest, of course. The second biggest update of the 3.9 concerns the wastewater treatment. So until the version 3.8, and this is work that we have been doing with Gabor Doka, the developer of the different tools we use to model our solid waste and wastewater treatment activities. So until the 3.8, treatment datasets in the ecoinvent database would aggregate in one single dataset the treatment of the waste, and then all the treatment steps for different wastes that were generated by this treatment. What we are doing with the version 3.9 and starting with the wastewater treatments is to disaggregate those treatments into the different treatment steps, covering then the treatments done to the wastes generated during the wastewater treatment. And that would cover subsequent wastes such as the sludge, bottom ashes, or residues. The wastewater treatments are regionalized, and each national data set will be a weighted average treatment that it's then using the national shares of the sludge fate as weighting keys. There is a consideration of rural versus urban treatments and an averaging of those depending on the national situation. What is the update covering in terms of regionalization? It covers the regions of US, China, Europe and Switzerland, Quebec, and of course a global representation. There are regional specific markets that contain losses representing untreated water. So there's a regional consideration made for this untreated water. Additionally, there has been an effort in harmonizing and naming those new wastes that are now visible to you users in a way that they contain enough information of the treatment chain that generates it, so to facilitate your work when understanding what they are, how to maybe use them, etc. So the new names of those wastes or wastewater will have now different elements. They will contain the name of the waste itself, they will contain information on the treatment chain that generated it, and they will contain also, if they are one of those subsequent wastes, they will contain the name of the original waste or wastewater that it's at the beginning of the treatment chain. Again, here I would invite you, if this is a topic of your interest, to join the scheduled webinar. This one is already in the calendar, so you can already see when this is going to happen, and I think start signing in soon for it. As we do every year, we have updated electricity market mixes. This is work that we have done together with PSI and ETH. In the case of the update in Brazil, this is an extension of the Cornerstone project that was set up between Rede ACV, so the Brazilian Business Network for LCA, and the ecoinvent Association to improve the coverage of the data in the Brazilian context. So, as I was saying, as every year, we have updated production volumes, trade volumes, and loss volumes of the electricity markets in all attributional system models, meaning cutoff, APOS, and EN 15804. To the, we have updated all those parameters to the most recent available data, which in this case, it means that the database represents now the mixes valid for 2020 in US, Canada, China, Switzerland, and Brazil, and it represents the 2019 mixes for the rest of the countries. With this update, the ecoinvent database covers 100% of the statistically available global electricity supply with specific mixes. For the rest of, for the remaining geographies, which are mostly small countries and island states, there is no data available. Again, we are scheduling a webinar for this sector. So I would invite you to check the calendar and sign in once it appears and it's accessible for inscriptions, of course. Because we have made also other updates, other very interesting updates in the sector. First of all, we have, and this thanks to a collaboration with the Fordham University, we have added to the database new datasets that represent aerial, underground, and subsea transmission cables. Each market, so each national market is now offering a country-specific mix of transmission infrastructure. So this is a specificity that it's now added in the electricity markets. The version 3.9 includes also updated datasets for photovoltaic laminate production, cadmium telluride. This is data provided by First Solar. So there are new geographies added to the database around this activity. In Vietnam and Malaysia, there's an update in the US region, and there is a phase out of the German activity as the production of this product has ceased, has stopped in Germany. And finally, I'm very happy to announce that the version 3.9 implements or releases dataset on residual mixes. So, as you know, residual mix is a virtual mix, and the residual mixes are calculated based on the statistics from the Association of Issuing Bodies. They cover all members of Europe, EU 28, Iceland, Norway, Serbia, and Switzerland. It's valid for 2021. And it's also the they are independent, of course, from the physical mixes, but they have been modeled following the same structure as the physical, in general, as the electricity, physical electricity markets. So you will find electricity at the high, medium, and low voltage levels connected through transforming activities. But of course, the two kind of mixes are separated. The European attribute mix, so the EAM, is also present in the database. It has been modeled as a separate data set and is linked to the residual mixes of all deficit countries. So yeah, I can see some questions popping up asking about residual mixes. So I will send you back to the calendar and the webinar scheduled, or that will soon be scheduled in the calendar, to get all the details, explanation, and a whole 1 hour length webinar on that, on the electricity sector. So moving forward into the next sector, which is the agricultural sector, where we have been adding more regional coverage. Yeah, we have, sorry, I got distracted. There are more questions on the future of the residual mixes if we're going to add countries like US or China. This is this implementation of residual mixes today is a collaboration we have with the Association of Issuing Bodies. And for now, the reliable data we could implement concerns Europe, but of course we're looking on how we could represent other regions in the future. Yeah. Sorry, back to agriculture. So we have been expanding regional coverage. The first big addition we have made, and that I would like to explain today, it relates to additions we have made to the Canadian region in collaboration with the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, and the Food System Prism Lab. Sorry, we have added more pulse crops to Canada. Canada is a leading exporter of this kind of crops, with approximately 75% of the national production exported annually, and Canada being representing 35% of the global pulse trade. So this update started already in the version 3.8, where we added lentils and peas, and now completes the pulse crops in Canada by adding navy beans, red kidney beans, pinto beans, and faba to specific regions, the important producing regions in the country, such as Manitoba, Ontario, Alberta, etc. The second regional update that has been done to the agricultural sector concerns Brazil, and this is has been done in collaboration with Embrapa, the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation. There have been several crops that have been updated or added new, representing different regions and different agricultural practices. I would like to highlight the case of coffee, Brazil being, again, one of the largest coffee producing countries in the world, and coffee being one of the most traded commodities globally, actually. So this new coffee data substitutes the Brazilian data. We used to have coffee in Brazil as a national data set. It substitutes this data set with specific regional data in Sao Paulo and Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais producing 55% of the coffee in the country. So it also covers or represents different production conditions, mechanized, semi-mechanized, different irrigation conditions, so to give full picture of the coffee production. Peanut is also a new crop added to the database, and all the others are updates adding new regions or disaggregating, as I was saying in the beginning, covering different agricultural practices for those crops. For the building and construction sector, we have making big efforts to adopt new nomenclature rules for cement and concrete and harmonizing them throughout the sector. With the latest releases in the latest years, the sector, specifically cement and concrete production activities, have been added to a great number to the database, covering different regions, different countries, and this has led then to the need of a clear set of nomenclature rules for the activity, for the product names, to gain consistency across all geographies, alignment with the nomenclature used in industry standards, and then a clear structure that in the end can facilitate you as users the understanding of, okay, what is available, the different types of cement and concrete, what can I select, what is that I need for my study. So if we start with cement, in the case of the cement activities and products, the version 3.9 is adopting the nomenclature following the different national standards. So, for example, it adopts the standards in Brazil, Colombia, India, Peru, and US. We have activities in all those countries, and now they have been renamed following those different national standards. And for the rest of the countries, and for global, we have used the European standard for nomenclature of activities and products around cement production. As an example, that would mean that an activity that was called in Switzerland cement production blast furnace slag 36 to 65% in the version 3.8 is now called cement production CEM 3A. There is extensive tables, mapping files, etc., to guide you through all this change. Don't worry, in the change report, and also, as always, as the corresponding file. There is one exception to all this, is the case of Cement Portland. The name is extensively used, so it has been maintained. In the case of concrete, with the same idea of supporting you users in the selection and in the understanding of the different concrete types, all the necessary information for that is now in the activity name. The new activity names then are including the compressive strength, the building application, so for example, for building construction, for civil engineering, for drill piles, and well, optionally, if needed, more specific application considerations, if it's for interior use or exterior use, this is of course optional, and the type of cement use. So, for example, if we take this example here, an activity in South Africa, what was called before concrete production 20 megapascal is now called concrete production 20 megapascal for building construction with cement CEM 2BV. So together with this change in nomenclature, we have also updated the value chains for the different products in the different regions, making sure that market mixes they exist, they represent the proper market shares, production volumes are up to date, the transport is accurate, etc. We have added activities and markets to make sure then each regional value chain is well represented in the database. In the case of the global value chain, what we have done is we have selected one representative activity instead of having all of the regional activities represented as a global copy. That has meant the deletion of several global activities. If we take this example, where you can see in the version 3.8, we would have cement production using blast furnace slag in different proportions as global copies of the regional specific activities. We have substituted all of those by one cement production SEM 3A. In the change report, we have given extensive recommendations to the users when we have deleted those global activities, directing them to a specific activity that could substitute what they were using before, and in general giving recommendations on how to navigate this change. We have made other updates to the sector, trying to reflect the developments happening in the recent years that have been adding or you have been seeing new production technologies appearing of construction materials that aim at reusing construction and demolition waste. So in that regard, the version 3.9 includes new data sets on the production of cement and concrete with recycled aggregates and waste mixed aggregates for Switzerland. And this is data kindly shared by Holcim in Switzerland. I see I see a question saying if there is no scheduled webinar for the building and construction sector. It was not in our pipeline of planned webinars, but I would suggest that you add this kind of idea or suggestion in the questionnaire that you're going to receive after the webinar. It would be really nice. In any case, I'm also noting this down as I have it in the questions now. Thank you for that. And let's move to the next sector, which is the chemical sector. With the version 3.9, we're bringing new data to the chemical sector. First, we are bringing to the database the data we have created in the framework of the PEF data creation project I was mentioning in the beginning as an introduction of this webinar. We have, in that regard, we have added 38 new products to the database that covers pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, plasticizers, and organic compounds. Of course, the corresponding global market, and when appropriate, the corresponding European markets have been created for those. Secondly, we have updated the sector by generally updating and adjusting existing technologies, as always, maintaining the sector and making sure that the technologies represent the current technologies. This we have done sometimes in collaboration with the concerned associations. So for version 3.9, we are updating and correcting polycarbonate, MDI and TDI, and we have introduced a steam reformer activity, so generating hydrogen. For now, it has to be noted that this activity is not connected to the market mix of hydrogen. So the activity is there for you to use if you wish in your different projects, but it's not yet contributing to the market mix for hydrogen. I can see a question whether the list of these 38 new chemicals is available. It will be available in the change report. It's not yet available in the web page. So if you can be patient for some days still, you will get, of course, access to all our documentation. So okay, maybe before I move to the next sector, agriculture, did you update the methodological framework used to model emissions to our water soils? Okay, I think this is maybe, okay, we have a question about agriculture, which is maybe a little bit specific. So let me take it in a follow-up email. and I will answer it. Okay, so batteries. The version 3.9 is adding new datasets for batteries, improving the coverage of batteries that offer the database offers. We started adding more batteries already in the latest release. The version 3.8 added lithium ion and valve regulated stationary rechargeable lead acid battery, I think it's called, is VRLA. In the version 3.9, we have added new lithium iron phosphate LFP batteries to the ecoinvent database. This is data created by EMPA, by the Swiss Federal Laboratories for Material Science and Technology. So the update includes, or the database now includes, all the battery components, the cathode, the cell, the battery specifically need for this type of battery, and it also of course includes the different chemicals that are needed for the battery. Complementary to that, the datasets for battery separator and electrolyte have been updated. It's important to mention that the version 3.9 also corrects a mistake that was present in the version 3.8. So I was mentioning we updated, or we added several new lithium-ion batteries for the version 3.8, and in the value chain, the chemical compounds that were needed for the batteries were wrongly linked. So they were linked, they were mixed, and now this is corrected with the version 3.9. There are new and updated datasets provided again by EMPA in the framework of a project sponsored by the Swiss Federal Office for Environment, BAFU. There is new data concerning scarce metals, namely antimony, boron, zirconium, and hafnium. For antimony, it's data that is adapted to represent the ore grade and the recovery rates in China. For the borate, we are representing now the mining and production of calcium borate in Turkey and sodium borate in the United States, based on, of course, more recent data. And there is new data covering the production of nuclear grade zirconium and hafnium sponges. So both metal sponges are commonly used in the production of components used in nuclear reactors. So in the updates, finally, there is the last sector I want to cover with this webinar is the paper and the cardboard sector. It's a sector where the collaboration with the association is very fruitful, and it is really bringing the sector constant updates to the sector. For the version 3.9, this is reflected in several value chains. For example, we are updating sulfate pulp production based on data provided by EPIS, the European Pulp Industry Sector Association, that adds data for the region Latin America and Caribbean, and also updates eucalyptus for the European region. The activities around craft paper production have been also updated based on data from CEPI Eurocraft, and with the help of RIS, the Research Institute of Sweden. This is data collected specifically for sack craft paper production, but it's also considered to be representative for the other craft packaging papers. And finally, we have updated data for the European container board and corrugated board box production with data from FEFCO, and again with the help of RIS. And we have also added new data for the US, specifically new data for containerboard production and corrugated board box production, with the support of the National Council for Air and Stream Improvement. And finally, in that sector, we have added data for liquid packaging board production. So this is updated based on industry data collected by ACE, so the Alliance for Beverage Cartons and the Environment, together with EFOI. And this is an update that covers European region together with a global counterpart. I would like to now go to other kind of updates that we have made to the version 3.9. Apart from the data updates, we kept on working to improve the user experience. So specifically, we kept on working to improve definition and documentation. So we have now now we made sure that we cover 100% of the product and services we have in the database. All of them integrate now the product information, so a description that is supporting you, users, in identifying and in using them. So the product information will contain information related to physical properties or characteristics of the products, and will give guidance on how to use a product or the service for the different supply chains, the different use cases, modeling cases you will be facing. We have also made an effort to align with the different resellers, with the different software providers. So you, as final users of different software tools, LCA software, you will also be able to benefit from this feature in different ways. Of course, each software is implementing this in a different way, but you will be able to see this product information easily also in your software and not only through the eco query. In a similar line, we have also been working a lot around the elementary exchanges. So the idea in the end being the same, facilitating you as users identification, understanding, and usage of also the elementary exchanges. So the list of elementary exchanges has been revised and updated, and this is based a lot in the insights that we have gained through our participation in the GLAD initiative, specifically in the nomenclature group, and with the coordination of the EF mapping project, where, as I was mentioning in the beginning of the webinar, different flow lists, elementary exchange lists of different databases have been mapped one to another. So we have, with all this knowledge we've accumulated, we have improved the names, the elementary exchange names, for example, by removing information that was in the exchanges and that is belongs to other fields, typically compartment information, like in ground. This has been removed from the elementary exchanges names. We have also, or we now specify metal oxidation states in all the elementary exchanges, and in the case of cast numbers, formulas, and synonyms, we have updated them, we have extended them, so adding sometimes more than one cast number is possible for the same chemical. We have added those. We have made sure to add formulas to all of them, and we have made sure to add more than one synonym to the exchanges. We have also removed redundant exchanges. And the idea of having this improved list of elementary exchanges is, as I was saying before, to make it easier for practitioners to identify and to choose the data needed for their assessment, to facilitate or to improve interoperability of the ecoinvent database with other databases, and in the end to facilitate also collaboration with LCIA method developers. When it comes to the method, precisely, we kept on improving the implementation, expanding and improving the implementation we do of methods. So for the ecoinvent version 3.9, we have added new methods that we have used to calculate impacts with. So these are the crustal scarcity indicator 2020, ecological scarcity 2021, EPS 2020, IBCC 2021, recipe 2016, Tracy version 2.1. And we have also updated several other methods to the latest version. So that's the case of CML, version 4.8, 2016, CED, CXT, the ecological footprint, the EF version 3.0, we have updated the implementation, and we have also implemented new EF version 3.1. And we have also updated EF version 3.0, EN 15804, and the same EN 15804 with the necessary indicators for ISO 21930. So those are now all the methods that you would have in the portfolio of methods accessible directly through the ecoquery, our publication platform. There are other methods that we have now considered superseded or obsolete. Some of them will still be present, others will not. So I also invite you to consult that, and if you wish, give us feedback and suggestions at that level. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Let me see if there are other questions I could take now. So, for example, for the biogenic carbon resource correction, so we added, as the user also comments in the question, we added biogenic carbon corrections for 3.8, and they cover the wood and paper and cardboard sectors. Those and also some construction materials some construction materials, where biogenic carbon was also important. Those are the same sectors that are covered today with the biogenic carbon resource correction. We have not added more sectors, but we have, of course, together with the update in the activities in those different sectors, we have updated also the resource correction, so it's up to date. So I have a question. Is a bigger update of ecoinvent already planned, for instance, version 4 for next year? I'm sorry to disappoint you. Next year it will still be version 3.10, but it will be a big update. Version 3.10 is focused, same as version 3.9, in the core sectors of the database, so there are more big updates to come for the version 3.10 next year. Yes. There are other questions I can see that are maybe too specific. I will address them directly. Thank you for making them. With this, I would like to thank you all for being present today in this webinar, for your questions, and I would like to wish you a very nice day. Thank you very much.